All right, so I think we are just going to test the equipment here. If maybe Commissioner Choi could verify he could hear us, that'd be great. By text. Let's see. I think he has to accept. We tried to promote him. I think he'll have to accept though. And then let's see if I can unmute him. All right, so it looks like he's unmuted now.
He's a panelist now.
He's a panelist, yeah.
Something's on his microphone.
Yeah, you're unmuted on our end if you want to just test and see if we can hear you here. And we're not getting anything yet. We can see you now.
Colin, your microphone icon on our screen looks like it might not be like a functional microphone or something's with the microphone.
We're expecting Commissioner Basket. Commissioner Howe is.
I see. Oh, they show up anyway.
Yeah. Oh, we're not expecting. Yeah.
Maybe have him log off and log back on.
Yeah, so if you want to maybe try logging off and on, or if you go down to the microphone icon and hit the caret, you can pick between microphones. So you might be able to select the microphone on your headset if that's the one that's hooked up, if it's not selected. We still can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me now?
There we go.
Hey, there we go.
Okay, we'll stick with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the May 11th, 2023 Louisville Planning Commission meeting with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Osterman.
Here.
Commissioner Moline.
Here.
Commissioner Krantz.
Here.
Commissioner Choi.
Here.
Chair Bronice.
Here. And a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And looking back, we have the February minutes, I believe we're going, both. Do we have any corrections for the February 9th, 2023 minutes? I think that's all been handled, yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll approve those. Then we'll move into the April ones after that. A motion to approve the February 9th, 2023 minutes, please.
So moved?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And I believe we were all present, so. Then the April 13th, 2023 minutes, do we have any corrections for that? Seeing none, motion to approve.
So moved?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Both carry. At this point, we can open the floor up for public comment on items that are not on this evening's agenda. So if there's something that somebody wanted to speak to, and oh, good, I get to see the whole list now on the screen. Or does that include guests or attendees? No, yeah. No, that's great. And if you are, we see a handful, 7 people participating in the Zoom. If you use the raise hand function for Zoom, if you wanted to speak to something that's not on this evening's agenda. Seeing none, we'll move forward with our first item of continued business. And I will now open the public hearing on a request for a planned unit development amendment in the enclave. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there will be a presentation and testimony by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. In this case, the staff is also acting as the applicant. After this presentation, members of the public who have joined this meeting in person, by computer, or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak is asked to complete a speaker card. Use the raise hand function if you're participating by computer, or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. Pooling of comments is not permitted. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony, and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I'll then close the public hearing, and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The Planning Commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and address. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I have described? Seeing none. Do we have notification?
Yeah, public notice was met per municipal code requirements, and the hearing was properly continued at the last Planning Commission meeting to this evening.
And do we have any disclosures from Planning Commission members? Seeing none, I would invite the presentation, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lisa Ritchie, Planning Manager, on behalf of the Enclave neighborhood tonight regarding their fence standards. So a little bit of background. The Enclave neighborhood had a PUD approved in May of 1986, authorizing 60 single-family properties, 52 of which were destroyed during Marshall Fire, along with many of the neighborhood fences. Current PUD regulates perimeter fences as well as the fence that surrounds Enclave Park. And I want to stress that this was a neighborhood-driven proposal, so there was quite a bit of collaboration within the Enclave. This one took couple rounds of meetings and things, and I'm happy to say that from my perspective, I believe we have good consensus. We did have a neighborhood meeting 2 nights ago, just to kind of reconfirm everything before we attend tonight, and we do have representatives from the neighborhood here as well. So again, the PUD regulates the perimeter fences as well as the fence surrounding Enclave Park. So I'll just kind of walk around the things that are proposed here to change. So first, let's start with the fence that borders McCaslin. Currently, the PUD requires a wood fence with unspecified height and brick columns. Many of the brick columns are in disrepair. Some have already kind of fallen over. Some I think are still in place, but would need pretty good structural repairs in order to remain solid for the, future life of this next round of fencing. And these are all the responsibility of the private property owners. There's no HOA within this neighborhood, and so there's no mechanism really other than the individual property owners to repair these. And so the property owners that abut McCaslin here do not desire to repair the brick columns at this time and would prefer that they go away. They do desire consistency within design in the new fence. However, they, like some of our other neighborhoods, would prefer some flexibility in materials. And so the proposal tonight before you it's in this portion here, it would set forth a 6-foot-high solid fence. It would require vertical slats with a top rail. And they've settled on a gray color. It's a light gray, and I still need to get the kind of the Sherwin-Williams equivalent. But I believe most of the property owners have agreed to go in on a joint contract. There's a few lots for sale, and so, not committing for those property owners. That's why I think they're not quite ready to say this is the exact fence we'll require, but that's where they've landed. Let's switch over to Davidson Mesa. So that is this fence line here with this hatch mark. Currently, the PUD requires 42-inch high California chain link. We're clarifying the language in the PUD to allow wood or a composite frame, but like a metal, like your traditional chain link metal frame would not be permitted. So there's some flexibility in combustible versus non-combustible there. The southern border of the neighborhood, which here, and it all abuts private property. This is commercial and this is residential. And the current PUD requires a 42-inch high California chain link, which was never actually what was constructed there. It was always a 6-foot high solid wood fence. And so we're removing the fence regulation from this PUD. They would be under the municipal code, which would allow any fence up to 6 feet high. So it's no longer a perimeter fence. And finally, we have the fence that borders Enclave Park here in the center. Again, PUD requires 42-inch high California chain link. There's a lot of property owners here who have dogs and would desire something higher. But from the city's perspective, our Parks and Recreation Department would prefer to keep an open style fence here so that this park does not feel like it's kind of enclosed. And so the homeowners agree. And so the new standard would be kind of any open style fence with a clarifier that at least 80% of the fence face would be open up to 6 feet high. But again, the chain link with the metal frame would not be permitted. So a lot of design flexibility really there, just prohibiting your kind of traditional chain link fence, but keeping the open standard in place. And happy to answer any questions you may have. We are recommending approval of this draft resolution going to City Council, and there are representatives from the neighborhood both in the room and online.
Thank you very much. Questions for Lisa at this time?
Yeah, I just have one real quick one. I didn't see this, and I apologize if I missed it, but when you're updating the PUD, does it include an update to state that there's no gates allowed on the area that's facing Davidson Mesa, or does it need to? Because that's the new regulation?
No, so we are not addressing gates in our PUDs. The gate itself isn't necessarily the problem. It's how folks access into open space that, is potentially more, where the concern comes in with encroachments into open space or social trails into open space. But current policy at the city is we do not prohibit the gate. We just communicate with residents about how they use open space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any additional commissioner questions?
Chair, I had one question, if I may. Lisa, thanks for that presentation. Just a question of clarification. Is it conceivable that around the park area, on those maybe dozen lots that surround the park area, with the way that it's written of any open style up to 6 feet tall, that as a property owner has the responsibility for the fence, that there could be a pretty wide variation in terms of the fences that are actually installed along that park perimeter?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think someone could come in with maybe a wrought iron style fence that's 4 feet tall. Someone could come in with a, kind of California chain link style fence that's 6 feet tall. So there would be a lot of design flexibility with the way that this is written, although it would keep the open requirement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just recognizing Commissioner Baskett joining us here at 6:45. That's no need for that. But we just need
It was
to
my retirement party. It was hard to leave early.
Wow, yes, congratulations. Any additional questions? Commissioner
Can I
Krantz?
just follow up on Commissioner Choi's question? Just to clarify, that they could also have the option of having no fence around the park?
Correct.
Thanks.
Great. Seeing no additional questions, then we'd like to open it up to public comment. If anybody would like to speak. Again, if you're on the Zoom meeting, please use the raise hand function. And if you're in person here, I think we have the speaker cards. You can fill it out afterwards. Just come on up, though. You can speak now and then.
Sherry Summer, 910 South Palisade Court. I have a question about the fence along the Davidson Mesa side. I can understand for aesthetic reasons why a metal frame wouldn't be allowed, but I wonder, in the interest of fire safety, if it would be better to have some metal frames allowed if there were certain that didn't seem so ugly, I guess, I don't know. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. We can welcome you up.
I don't have a question.
Oh,
but
if you can get to the microphone, yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
I don't
First,
have-
sorry, and if you can start with your name and
Oh,
just-
Tina Fontillas from the Enclave.
Great.
I just want to say that all of us, the neighborhood has been working a lot on the fence issues, and we all support the current the revised PUD.
Oh, great.
Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out this evening.
Yeah, my name is Chen Wan from Cherrywood neighborhood. I'm just curious, the fence on the McCaslin side, they're saying that some of the neighbors not rebuilding it. And we'll have like a non-continuous fence along the road.
We'll attempt to discuss that here amongst ourselves. I think we may have an answer for you on that one. Thank you. And not seeing any hands raised on Zoom, if we can maybe bounce a few things off of you, Lisa.
The table, so I'm going to come back
Oh,
over
no.
here.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that the reason why the McCaslin facing is not complete right now was more because there's a couple of lots that are for sale, and so they haven't finalized the shade of gray.
We have the shade of gray spec'd. The owners that are working together have a fence that they have spec'd. I have a sample of it. I just haven't, before we go to city council, we'll actually get that specific color. The residents have seen it. I just haven't had a chance to kind of go, actually get the color equivalent, color match equivalent, but that would be added before city council.
And just as a general question, are there requirements that people always install fences anywhere in the city?
No, we have not been communicating. I think it's, if you install a fence,
Right. Then
then
these are
this
the
is your fence
requirements
requirement. However, all of these homeowners are indicating that the desire to install a fence, and I can't imagine that there is going to be holes in that, but it could take some time while these lots are for sale, or if they don't get built upon for a while, for those fences to get built.
And other questions?
Just to clarify, I think I understood Chen's question was whether or not they would, there's not going to be, there won't be a continued fence line along McCaslin for a while. How many lots are currently vacant, or for sale, I mean?
I believe there are 2 to 3. Most of these lots have permits, but again, we're not controlling the rebuild timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know you've dealt a lot with the fireproof, less resistant
Yeah.
issues.
So along the Davidson Mesa side, the homeowners, I don't think desire to have the kind of that more traditional chain link metal frame. However, the kind of wood or that composite material is certainly less combustible than wood, like a Trex material, something like that. And so that allows them some flexibility. If they don't want to install a wood frame, then they can find something that's more non-combustible, but it wouldn't allow that metal frame.
Right, like a galvanized
Yeah.
steel look, yeah. Any additional, please?
Yeah, but, so if I'm reading this right, though, so the people along Davidson Mesa, the property owners, could do the California chain link fence, wood or composite, oh, yeah.
Yep, exactly, yep.
Right.
Where did welded wire end up in this? It was a couple,
We didn't specifically talk about welded wire with this neighborhood, but we can confirm that before we go to city council.
okay, I think
Yeah.
that might be an important one. Any additional questions? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing, and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Why don't we, maybe Commissioner Moline, can you share with us where you're at?
Sure. I'm going to be in support of this, and appreciate the work of the neighborhood and coming together and working to create some guidelines that the neighborhood themselves that you all can agree with. So just recognizing that the neighborhood has gone through some real tragedy here with the Marshall Fire, and appreciate you coming together and working with our city staff to find some solutions to the fencing issues in your subdivision. So appreciate it.
Commissioner Osterman.
I also support the resolution. I think that it's in alignment with some of the other resolutions that we've recently approved, and so no issues with this one. Thanks.
Commissioner Krantz.
Yeah, I have to echo what Jeff said. I mean, especially for this neighborhood where 52 out of 60 houses burned down. I'm really sorry for this tragedy, and and the same thing. I'm just amazed once again on how the coming together of the neighborhood and the consensus that you've got everybody to reach, and the hard work you've done to get everybody together, Ms. Ritchie, because I see, and thanks for coming to speak up, and it's really good to have neighbors who actually come here to tell us, so we know that you're in support of this. And and thanks to the people who are online who are from this neighborhood as well. And I'm sorry to talk a lot, but I just got one more thing that I forgot to mention too. I wanted to, if we do approve it, I wanted to just make a little condition or correction into the one of the whereas statements is in the ordinance. It says residents within the neighborhood express desire to amend certain fence regulations to allow non-combustible materials and other, I think there's a word missing, reflect other design preferences. Oh, okay, now I get it. Okay, sorry. Very minor thing. I meant to say it earlier. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Choi.
Thank you, Chair. I also am in support of the proposed resolution. Similar to how Commissioner Osterman stated, this is the same standard that we've reviewed some of these in the past with, and like some of my fellow commissioners, seeing the neighborhood come together, working with staff and have a consensus approach is admirable, that I can support. Thank you.
Thank you. I also find myself in support. I think it, Commissioner Howe is participating? I think he's just logged on. Oh, okay. Yeah, but you can't participate in this one just yet. Okay. We'll get you in the next round. Yeah. So, yeah, right. Who would have thought? The tremendous loss out of all this, and the amount of time that you all have had to deal with things, but being able to come together and even deal with fences as part of that, I can't imagine it. So thank you all for bringing it to where it's at now. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Thank you. And a roll call, please.
Commissioner Basket. Oh, sorry.
Abstain?
She's abstaining.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moline.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman.
Yes.
Commissioner Krantz.
Yes.
Commissioner Choi.
Yes.
Chair Bronice.
Yes. Thank you all very much. All right. With that, we'll move to our first item of new business, a plan unit development amendment for Cherrywood 2. I'll now open the public hearing on a request for a plan unit development amendment to amend the fence regulations for the Cherrywood 2 subdivision. The purpose of the hearing is to receive evidence regarding the application materials and provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on this request before the Planning Commission. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there'll be a presentation by city staff, followed by questions from the Planning Commission to staff. Next, we'll have a presentation, in this case, staff is acting as the applicant. After this presentation, members of the public who have joined the meeting in person, by computer, or telephone may speak regarding the application. Anyone who would like to speak is asked to complete a speaker card, use the raise hand function if participating by computer, or *9 if calling in by telephone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. Pooling of comments is not permitted. The purpose of public comment is to receive public testimony and not a forum for debate or dialogue. Commenters are encouraged to raise pertinent issues and may ask questions for clarity. However, these questions will not be directly answered during the public comment period. The applicant and staff will then be allowed to make a closing statement. I will then close the public hearing and no further testimony or other evidence will be received unless the commission decides to reopen the hearing. The planning commission will discuss the matter and may approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a future meeting. Public hearings are recorded for the public record. All testimony must be presented after stating your full name and confirming your city of residency. Does anyone participating in this hearing object to the procedure I've described? Seeing no objections, do we have proper notification?
Yes, Chair, the application was noticed per municipal code requirements.
And do we have any planning commission member disclosures? Seeing none, invite the presentation.
Good evening again, second fence amendment for tonight. So tonight we're here to consider the Cherrywood 2 neighborhood. This neighborhood, you can see on the map the structures that burned, but the PUD authorized 85 single-family properties, 15 of which were destroyed during Marshall Fire. PUD was originally adopted in October of 1991 and regulates perimeter fences within the neighborhood. And as always, this is a neighborhood and HOA-driven proposal, and we do have representatives from the neighborhood online and in the room tonight. So this one's a little different. We are only amending the fence regulations for lots 48 through 64. And those, you can see here on the screen, these lots have been identified. And so currently the PUD, let's talk about 48 through 62, which is the area with the dot. The PUD currently requires a 6-foot-high cedar fence. And these homeowners desire to have flexibility within their design materials and permit anything that would be allowed in the municipal code. So effectively kind of removing this fence line from the PUD. From staff's perspective, this property to the north up here is the Louisville Police Station property. So it's not, park property or open space property. It feels fairly open. And it is visible from McCaslin, but I would say not very visible with some topography. And so from my perspective, I don't feel it's essential that there's consistency within these two fence lines here from a city aesthetic perspective. And so again, those two fence lines would now come in under any fence up to 6 feet high, open, solid, what have you. These lots 62, 63, and 64 abut the Louisville Arboretum, and currently their fence standard in the PUD is a California chain link fence, 42 inches high. These three homeowners have worked together and they would prefer a 48-inch high black wrought iron style fence, kind of as shown here in this image. So the three of those property owners, that's their preference. And again, it has some consistency as it abuts the Arboretum. And that's really the proposal as we're seeing it. The remainder of the neighborhood, the perimeter fence would remain in place, the 6-foot-high cedar fence that's in place today. That fence was not damaged during the fire. And so for now, this neighborhood is electing to really only amend the portion that was impacted by the fire. And with that, we are recommending approval of this resolution. Happy to answer any questions. And again, we have neighborhood representatives as well.
Great, thank you. Questions? Seeing, Commissioner Krantz.
Just real quick, it didn't appear to me from the map on page 2 that 48 through 54 were damaged in the fire. Are they changing their fences, or were their fences burned down but the houses survived?
None of those homes were destroyed by the fire. Some of the fences, as I recall, and I would ask maybe a resident to confirm that for me, were damaged or impacted by the fire. But from the neighborhood, I think, desires from a wildfire protection and kind of where the fire entered their neighborhood generally came through this field. And so I think, over time, if fences need replaced, they would prefer, have the option for non-combustible material in this location.
Okay, I'm sorry, just to clarify.
Yep.
Then these homeowners whose fences may or may not have been destroyed in the fire are not required to replace it with a 48-inch high black open style fence. But when they do replace their fences, that will be a requirement?
No, sorry, so the black 48-inch high is up here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Just those three
Oh.
homeowners there, and those homes were destroyed. They are getting rebuilt. Their fences were California chain link and damaged or destroyed. It's these
Okay.
portions down here. So if I look at the map
Okay.
of the destroyed property, so we're looking at this fence line and this fence line and this fence line here. So again, we've had the black wrought iron up here, and then these fences were all destroyed. And then some of these were along this property line. So there would be no requirement to change their fence. It's just if they want to replace a wood fence with a non-combustible fence, they can.
Thank you so much. I was confused.
Yep, no worries.
Any additional questions?
Chair, I have a question. Lisa, my comment that I made about the previous resolution and kind of applying the same standard, I just have a question here. So again, using the previous example from the enclave, where the eastern border on McCaslin, those fence requirements were amended for any solid fence. The fence line that goes here across the backs of lots 48 through 62, although it's not open space and it's not directly adjacent to a roadway, it is ostensibly the outside or exterior perimeter fence of the neighborhood and development. Was there a reason why staff isn't recommending another solid fence in that location, and as opposed to just going with whatever the Louisville Municipal Code allows?
Primarily, I think the neighbors desired flexibility here. And again, while it's city-owned property, it's developable property. It's not, a park or an open space property. And so from my perspective, I viewed it a little differently in the fact that this isn't necessarily the same as park or open space. There's no trail networks back here. And yes, it's visible from McCaslin, but this is and I can get you the measurement while you're taking public comment, but from the roadway from McCaslin, that fence it's set, a couple 100 feet back at least, probably more than that, and I can confirm it. And I think the visibility of that fence from the McCaslin roadway is pretty minimal.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I'd like to open up public comment. Check the online. Yes, we have a couple of people. We go ahead and recognize Roger Wilkerson. You're unmuted on our end now. If you'd like to go ahead with, please limit yourself to 3 minutes and begin with your name and confirm your city of residence.
Great, thank you. 125 Cherrywood Lane. I'm Roger Wilkerson. We did lose our house in the fire and we are rebuilding. I just wanted to express my support for this. I do want to mention, as far as the concerns about continuity or having some sort of consistency through the fence, we do have an HOA with an architectural review committee, and so all new fences that will be rebuilt need to pass by that architectural review committee. And they, obviously there's a lot of things to consider, but they have expressed that they want to have some sort of, to the best that they can, have some sort of uniformity. So I wanted to make sure that the council was aware of that, or that the decision makers were aware of that. We would like to rebuild, if possible, some sort of a fire resistant fence. And another thing to consider is that the neighbors throughout this area, or especially the ones backing up to the open space, are in varying states of rebuilding, and not all of them are ready to make decisions on fencing. So we were not really able to get all the people together to say, here's the exact type of fence that we want. And so therefore we had worked with Lisa Ritchie to ask for it to be kind of just to be worded to say within, Louisville city regs, and then allow the rest of that to be decided by the HOA and the architectural review committee.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and best of luck moving forward with it. We can recognize if somebody listed as, it looks like Marion McClure. There we go. Go ahead.
Maria McClure. I'm living in Louisville and I'm rebuilding at 105 Cherrywood Lane. And I think this amendment to the PUD makes complete sense. Lisa is awesome to work with and has come up with something that is flexible, but yet like reasonable and that fits a lot of our different needs at this point. We don't know what we can rebuild and whatever, but I know as a homeowner that backs up to that field, and I know other neighbors that we witnessed our cedar fences catch fire and they caught our homes on fire and they subsequently caught like the rest of our neighborhood, including Mulberry, on fire. And I know the fire is like, you can't just break it down like that and it's not that simple, but I believe that having the option to install metal and non-combustible fence at these locations is critical for all of our safety. And for me rebuilding and moving back in soon, like that's a key part of me feeling safe at home again. The other thing I would like to say is Commissioner Choi, you asked about the privacy fence backing to that field. And I look at my house every day when I drive by McCaslin, and you can't see, when my fence was there, you couldn't see my fence from McCaslin. So I don't think whatever fence backs up to that field is actually really visible for the most part from drivers going 40 miles an hour on McCaslin, and the way that field kind of rises in the middle and then goes back down towards our properties. The other reason for open fencing along that is currently the most, I guess, recommended hard fire escaping wise type of fence. And so that's what I'm planning on installing. And I guess that is all I have to say. Thank you all for listening. It's amazing how much fences have people, engaged and talking about different things. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody's efforts on this. And I think that allowing flexibility will help us all make our neighborhood safer. Thank you.
And thank you very much for participating in the process. I think next up is John or Carol Barrett. And it looks like you are muted. There we go. Go ahead.
Yes, this is John Barrett. I'm here with my wife, Carol. We have lived in the neighborhood since 1993. We're the original owners of that home. And the fencing issue is not on our property because we're on the other side of the street. I'm just here to support our neighbors and request for them to have flexibility in the fencing. And it certainly does make sense not to require a cedar fence after what happened. So I'm just here to support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do not see any more raised hands at this time. With that then, Lisa, can I invite you for a response and or closing statement?
Yeah, just one follow-up point. So it's roughly 600 feet kind of from the McCaslin roadway to the portion of the fence that runs north to south. So from a visibility perspective, even though it faces McCaslin, 600 feet's a long ways, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Any closing statement at that point then?
No, sorry, thank you. We're in support of the application and appreciate the residents and how hard they've worked on this together.
Thank you very much. I will now close the public hearing, and the planning commissioners will deliberate on the evidence presented. During deliberations, no further public comment or other testimony or evidence will be received. Who would like to begin? Yeah, Commissioner Krantz?
Yeah, once again, thanks to everybody who is there today online. It's really great that you are participating. It's nice to know that there's people behind this, and I'm in support of this recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Osterman.
I don't have a lot more to add. I'm in support as well. I think it makes sense to be able to give the homeowners flexibility in this case. And so, really appreciate all the work that's been done to get to this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Moline.
Yes, I'm in agreement with with my fellow commissioners, and I'm going to be in support of this as well. Again, as we've said on these projects, we all are just our hearts go out to the residents and appreciate their efforts to at least reach some closure on some of these fence regulations anyway. And so, I guess the other thing I wanted to mention was, it's interesting to hear that there will also be sort of some HOA oversight of these. And so if there was sort of concern about, that things would look too different or something, I'm all for flexibility and giving the landowners the flexibility they need. But it's interesting to hear that the HOA would have some review that would help maintain a consistent look. That should be of some comfort to the people in this subdivision too. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Basket.
I'm in support of the resolution, and I admire the amount of decisions that the residents have had to make about their homes and reinvesting in the community. It's obvious that everybody wants this to be a quality presentation to their neighbors on the other side of the street, so I support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Choi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Planner Manager Ritchie, as well, for the presentation and for the residents who've taken part. I'm in support of this. I think it's a good delineation along that northern border. I do agree with Commissioner, the other commissioners on the Planning Commission, talking about flexibility and just being able to, provide the homeowners the flexibility to do what they like in cooperation with the architectural board. I do think that setback from McCaslin at that distance does address what I would have seen as a potential concern just for the privacy of the homeowners, but that distance does a good job of that. So I'm in support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also in support at this time and would echo the appreciation of everybody's work on this. So many details. With that, I would entertain a resolution to approve.
sure, I'll move approval of resolution number 11, series 2023, a resolution recommending approval of an amendment to the Cherrywood 2 planned unit development regarding fence regulations. My apologies there.
And we have a second.
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Osterman. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Basket,
Support, approve.
Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman,
Yes.
Commissioner Krantz,
Yes.
Commissioner Choi,
Yes.
Chair Bronice.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you all. With that, then we'll move to our final item of newish business. A request to continue a plan unit development amendment for 916 Main.
Yes, please. So the applicant is still continuing to work out some details with staff regarding a planned unit development amendment for 916 Main. So we request a continuance to the June 8th regular meeting at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Do we have any commissioner deliberation concerning this? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to continue.
Sure, I'll move to continue item PUD 0456-2023, 916 Main Street PUD First Amendment to the June 8th meeting.
2023.
2023, yes, thank
We
you.
have a second.
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Krantz. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Choi,
Yes.
Commissioner Krantz,
Yes.
Commissioner Osterman,
Yes.
Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
Commissioner Basket,
Yes.
Chair Bronice.
Yes. Thank you. And then we can move into Planning Commission comments. So is there anything that anybody wanted to discuss? I mean, I'll start by congratulating Commissioner Basket on doing both a retirement party and being here on the same evening. Thank you. Much appreciated. Any other commissioner comments?
I'm curious if people have seen the fence at Via Appia and McCaslin, the metal fence.
I've driven past it. I've seen it.
I think it looks great. It's just interesting to see it in person and surrounding the yard at this point in time and to see the building blocks of what comes next on the adjacent properties.
I'll take a look.
Any additional commissioner comments?
I'm not sure if this is what we want to share, but I brought up last meeting that that Senate Bill 23213, the land use bill, would have had significant impacts on how our zoning works, and that did not pass. But Kyle Brown and Senator Jacques Lewis are holding a town hall on May 15th in Longmont, and they are going to wrap up the legislative session. So I don't know, I know we can't all go at once, but if anybody wanted to go with me, they're going to be receiving, they're open to input on ways to resurrect some of that in future legislative sessions, the parts so that we can get more affordable housing. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Any additional commissioner comments? Commissioner Choi, did you have nothing? Okay,
Nothing,
thank you.
sure.
Any staff comments?
We're planning to bring to you, in addition to the continuance for 916 Main, the dark sky lighting ordinance to you for consideration next month. So that's exciting that is coming back. And then I also just wanted to say that tonight is my last planning commission meeting. June 2nd will be my last day with the city.
To clarify, you're leaving us? Are you moving to a different position?
We can chat after the meeting's over, but yeah, that's just, yeah. So this is my last planning commission with the city of Louisville.
Wow, thank you.
We really
Service to the
appreciate
city.
the amazing work you've been doing and how you've presented everything to us.
Yeah. Thank you. With that, then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn Planning Manager Ritchie's last Planning Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I wonder if we opposed it, whether we could keep or not. I wouldn't. Aye. Thank you all.